final day of the USA Pro Cycling Challenge, and the leader for the past 3 days, Levi Leipheimer, signing in for stage 6, taking us from Golden to Denver.
Yes, and Cadel Evans enjoying his day at altitude, lying in 7th place in the overall standings, a little bit out of the hunt, but behind Levi Leipheimer, still 4 riders within 21 seconds.
And the crowds were massive at the start as Golden prepared to send them on the way. They were now bound, first of all, for Lookout Mountain, where the Nissan King of the Mountains title would be decided.
Yeah, that came very much straight after the start, and it wasn't a surprise to see once again the Colombian teams launching the vicious attacks, which actually split the field into several different groups.
Taking the bull by the horns was Rafael Infantino as he passed through the corridor of noise. Massive crowds that have followed this race around for a week were actually at their biggest right now. As Infantino was racing for the summit, the battle behind was to who would take the Nissan King of the Mountains.
Well, Levi Leipheimer ensconced in that group, but surrounded by the 2 riders from Garmin-Cervelo, Christian Vande Velde and Tommy Danielson.
Infantino first over the top, but over the top in second place was Rafael Montiel. He would become the final King of the Mountains title holder. Small group first of all chased down Infantino, and one by one the whole field would finally get back together. Now they were leaving Golden, setting fur for Denver, and a new 4-man group was establishing itself.
Well, they started to build up a serious advantage of over 2¼ minutes in the main field, quite happy because the best place in this leading group of 4 riders was Oscar Sevilla, 3.5 minutes behind.
And he'd been joined by Javier Mejias, Lachlan Norris and Matt Cook, the only American in the breakaway. Into Denver first time with 6 laps of the city still to come. This was the Smashburger sprint, and it wasn't really a sprint because these boys were intent now on combining and hopefully would stay away to the finish. As they got into the laps of the town though, Cadel Evans, he had a back wheel flat.
Well, with the racer charging around at 31 miles an hour, it was not easy to get yourself back into the main field, but using the whole of his BMC racing team, he gets back onto the tail and safely back into the peloton.
With the crowd on the finishing circuit alone estimated well in excess of 100,000 people, these 4 boys really were playing to the crowd. A last desperate move coming from Javier Mejias as the field had closed in from more than 3 minutes back to a hatful of seconds.
But slowly but surely they started to pull in the breakaway riders. First of all, it was Oscar Sevilla. 2 riders did manage to survive for just a little bit longer, and one of those was Lachlan Norris of HTC.
He was swept up, and then the last man, the defiant Javier Mejias, was also swept up now, just 6 miles to go, as the field were now once more considering a sprint finish.
Well, everybody thought all of a sudden it was going to be under the controls of the teams of the sprinters, but Hayden Royalston from New Zealand, he had something else to say. He went out on the attack to try and surprise the teams of the sprinters in the final lap of the race.
As the bell rang for that 4.7-mile circuit to go, Royalston was leading the charge around Denver in very, very hot weather indeed. Even the pink jerseyed Andy Schleck here, voted the most aggressive rider yesterday, was making a final dash to try and win the day. But the field were having none of it.
Now the sprinters wanted to have their day. That usually happens on the final day, and coming into the final corner, it was all together.
So the lead out for Viviani was the way we expected it to go. Daniel Oss was in front. Viviani in the all-green jersey just behind. Watch Viviani, he checks out where the challengers are coming from. They're not, so he lets his teammate win the day. And that was the gesture which gave Daniel Oss his first win of the season.
That was a very classy move, but ensconced in that main field, Levi Leipheimer finishing in the same time as everybody else and therefore becoming the first winner of this USA Pro Cycling Challenge.
So Daniel Oss, he's got his win. The last 3 days have been won by Team Liquigas Cannondale. 1 for Oss, 2 for Viviani. And they had a grand finish to this inaugural tour. But the overall standings, well, Levi Leipheimer, Mr. America, has won again a major race in the States. These time gaps haven't changed for the past 3 days. Christian Vande Velde second, TJ Van Garderen, all top 5, all Tour de France riders. And there on the podium, the man who won the Tour of Utah a couple of weeks ago has now won the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. Levi Leipheimer is the champion. And there are all the classification leaders. Rafael Montiel, the second from the left in the green jersey. We've got Viviani as the points champion. TJ Van Garderen in blue as the best young rider. And the most aggressive rider on the right there was Tim Duggan. And in the team race, well, it was deja vu. They won the team in the Tour de France, and now Garmin-Cervelo have won the team here in the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. and that is very fitting for a team which is based in Boulder, Colorado.